Dr. Kira Voss pressed her long fingers against the control panel as the scanner beeped again. Her blue skin showed darker patches of excitement as she read the data flowing across her screen. The Zephyrian research station floated quietly at the edge of known space, far from the busy shipping lanes where most species preferred to stay. "Professor, you need to see this," Kira called to her supervisor. Her voice carried the musical tones that all Zephyrians used when they were excited. Professor Henra moved across the lab on his four thin legs. His large eyes, designed for spotting predators in the ancient forests of their homeworld, focused on the display. "What have you found?" "A signal," Kira said. "It's old, maybe 50 of our years, but it's still broadcasting. The pattern is complex, like someone put a lot of thought into making sure it would be understood." Henra studied the waves of data. The signal came in bursts, with mathematical sequences that clearly showed intelligence. "Where is it coming from?" When undone, 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 when undone. Beyond the rim, Kira pointed to a star map. Past the farthest colonies. Past everything we know. The two scientists worked through the night. Zephyrians needed little sleep, and both were too excited to rest. They ran the signal through every translation program they had. Slowly, patterns began to emerge. "It's a distress call," Henra whispered. "Look at these sections. They repeat the same mathematical cry for help in dozens of languages." Kira felt her hearts beating faster. This could be the discovery of our careers, a lost civilization calling out for rescue. They brought in more scientists. Dr. Yenth joined them, his green scales shimmering with interest. So did Captain Mira, the station's security officer, whose people came from a water world where cooperation meant survival. For 3 days, they worked to decode every part of the message. The signal contained star charts, biological data, and what looked like a countdown. Most importantly, it had coordinates. "Whoever sent this is in terrible danger," Dr. Yenth said. "These life support readings show critical failures across multiple systems." Captain Mira nodded. "The signal is automated. It keeps sending the same message over and over. They programmed it to call for help even if—" She didn't finish the sentence. Professor Henra made the decision. "We have to tell the Galactic Council. If there's even a chance these beings are still alive, we have a duty to help them." Kira prepared the transmission. She attached all their research, the decoded message, and their analysis. She marked it with the highest priority codes. "Broadcasting now to all Council worlds," she announced. The message traveled through the quantum relay network that connected civilized space. On dozens of worlds, communication officers received the data. Most filed it as an interesting archaeological find. A few forwarded it to their science departments. None marked it as urgent. On the water world Aquanus, the message sat in a queue for 2 days before anyone looked at it. On the crystal cities of Vex Prime, scholars debated whether it was real or a hoax. The Council's main headquarters on Galactic Central recorded the message but scheduled it for review next month. But the signal did something else. It bounced off relay stations, scattered through subspace echoes, and found its way to networks beyond the Council's borders. It reached places where the senders never meant it to go. Deep in a solar system far from the galactic core, warning alarms began to sound. The signal had reached Earth. Admiral Chen Jinai stood in the command center of Terra Station, orbiting humanity's blue homeworld. Her dark eyes scanned the data her communications team had just brought her. Other officers gathered around, their faces growing serious as they read. "Ma'am, we've confirmed the source codes," reported Commander Stevens. "It's definitely the UES Horizon." Chen felt ice form in her stomach. The Horizon had left Earth 47 years ago, carrying 50,000 colonists to establish humanity's furthest outpost. They were supposed to check in every few months. The last message had come 3 years ago. Just 2 words. Proceeding as planned. How did this signal reach Council space? Chen asked. Unknown, ma'am. But if the coordinates are accurate, the horizon is at least 6 months' travel beyond the galactic rim. That's past anything the Council has explored. Chen studied the decoded message. Life support failing. Population in critical danger. Automated systems maintaining minimum survival functions. The technical data showed a ship dying slowly in the void. Those are our people out there, she said quietly. 50,000 human beings who trusted us to bring them home if anything went wrong. She turned to her staff. Contact Fleet Command. I want authorization for a full expedition. Everything we can spare. Well, ma'am, that's 3 full battle groups. The Council might see it as an invasion force. Chen's expression hardened. The Council can think whatever they want. Our people are dying, and we're going to bring them home. Within hours, orders flowed through human space. Ships began gathering at the staging points. The 3rd Expeditionary Fleet assembled faster than any force in human history. Dreadnoughts, carriers, medical ships, supply vessels, and marine transports. Everything humanity needed to punch through unknown space and rescue their lost children. Back on the research station, Kira watched the stars and felt proud of what they had done. Somewhere out there, rescue ships are probably already moving, she told Professor Henra. We may have saved an entire civilization today. She had no idea that those rescue ships carried weapons that could crack planets. She didn't know that the beings who built them came from a world so dangerous that most species would consider it uninhabitable. She couldn't imagine that her simple act of kindness was about to bring the most feared warriors in the galaxy directly to her peaceful research station. The first human ships would arrive in 2 weeks. And when they did, the galaxy would learn what happened when someone threatened a human colony. Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of her flagship, watching the stars stretch into lines as they jumped to faster-than-light travel. She didn't care about galactic politics or first contact protocols. 50,000 humans were counting on her, even if they didn't know help was coming. The fleet jumped into hyperspace, heading toward a signal that would change everything. The research station's sensors screamed warnings as massive shapes dropped out of hyperspace. Dr. Kira Voss rushed to the observation deck, her blue skin pale with fear. What she saw made her legs weak. Ships, dozens of them. Each one was larger than anything she had ever seen. The smallest vessels dwarfed the research station. The largest looked like floating cities, bristling with weapon systems and armor plating that seemed designed to survive the destruction of worlds. Professor Henra, she called out. You need to see this. The elder scientist joined her at the window. His 4 legs trembled as he counted the vessels. By the ancestors, he whispered. What have we done? Captain Mira burst into the observation area. All stations report, ready. Should I raise shields? Kira stared at the fleet. Shields? Against that? We might as well try to stop a star with a paper screen. The lead ship was different from the others. Where the rest looked like tools of war, this one seemed designed for command. Sleek lines suggested speed, while the heavy construction promised it could take enormous damage and keep fighting. Incoming transmission, announced the communications officer. They're trying to talk to us. The main screen flickered to life. A face appeared that made all the Zephyrians step backward. The being looked almost like them, but wrong in subtle ways that triggered ancient prey instincts. 2 eyes instead of 4. Skin that looked like it could handle terrible damage. Features that showed no fear, only determination. Unknown station. This is Captain Park Sang-min of the UES Retribution. We received a distress signal that originated from your location. We are here to assist with rescue operations. Professor Henra found his voice first. We are a peaceful research station. We detected an automated signal and forwarded it to the Galactic Council for assistance. The human captain's expression changed slightly. You forwarded it to the council? Are you council members? Yes, Henra said. We belong to the Zephyrian Scientific Collective, a member species. We thought the signal came from a lost civilization in need of help. Captain Park was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke again, his voice was gentler. The signal came from one of our colony ships. 50,000 of my people are out there, possibly dying. Can you tell me exactly where the signal originated? Kira stepped forward. I led the team that decoded it. The coordinates put the source approximately 6 months' travel beyond the galactic rim, in a nebula system we've never explored. 6 months for you, Park said. 3 weeks for us. Can you provide detailed navigation data? The Zephyrians exchanged glances. Dr. Yenth spoke up. Your ships are very large and heavily armed. The Council might be concerned about unknown military forces in this region. Something dangerous flickered in the human captain's eyes. The Council can be concerned all they want. Those are my people out there. If you want to help, I welcome it. If you want to get in my way, I suggest you reconsider. Before anyone could respond, new contacts appeared on the sensors. More ships dropping out of hyperspace, even larger than the first group. The research station was now surrounded by what could only be described as a war fleet. Admiral Chen has arrived, Captain Park said. With your permission, we'd like to send a small team aboard your station to work directly with your scientists. Time is critical. Professor Henra looked around at his terrified staff. Every instinct told him to refuse. These beings radiated danger, like a star radiated heat. But they had also traveled across the galaxy to rescue their own people. You may send a team, he agreed. The shuttle that docked with their station was larger than most Zephyrian ships. When the airlock opened, 6 humans stepped through. They moved with a fluid grace that suggested perfect physical conditioning. Their leader, a woman with dark hair and sharp eyes, introduced herself as Commander Sarah Kim. Thank you for discovering our people's signal, she said to Kira. My scientists tell me your analysis saved us weeks of search time. Kira studied the human woman. Up close, the aliens were even more intimidating. They were clearly predators, built for hunting and fighting. But Commander Kim's eyes showed genuine gratitude. We were just doing our duty, Kira replied. Any civilized being would have done the same. You'd be surprised, Kim said quietly. We've met species who wouldn't cross the street to help a stranger. You risked contact with unknown aliens to help people you'd never met. That says something important about your character. The human team worked alongside the Zephyrian scientists through the day. Kira was amazed at how quickly they processed information. Where her people were careful and methodical, the humans attacked problems with controlled aggression that produced faster results. Your species learns quickly, she commented to Kim. We have to, Kim replied. Our homeworld doesn't tolerate slow learners. Everything there tries to kill you, so you adapt or die. Your world sounds terrible, Kim smiled. And for the first time, she didn't look dangerous. It's beautiful. Challenging, but beautiful. It made us strong enough to protect the people we care about. As they worked, Kira began to understand something important. These weren't conquerors or destroyers. They were parents, siblings, children of the people on that lost ship. The massive fleet wasn't an invasion force. It was a rescue mission on a scale that boggled the mind. Admiral Chen arrived that evening. She was smaller than the others, but something about her made everyone stand straighter when she entered the room. Her eyes held the weight of command and the pain of knowing her people were suffering. Dr. Voss, she said to Kira. Captain Park tells me you've been essential to this operation. On behalf of humanity, thank you. I only did what anyone would do, Kira replied. No, Chen said firmly. You did what decent beings do. There's a difference. The Admiral studied the star charts they had prepared. "We'll begin the rescue operation immediately. If you're willing, we'd like your team to accompany us. Your expertise with the signal might be crucial." Professor Henra spoke for all of them. "We'll come. This is the greatest discovery in Zephyrian history. We want to see it through." Admiral Chen nodded. "Fair warning. We don't know what we'll find out there. The signal suggests our people are in extreme danger. Things might get violent." Kira looked at the human admiral, then at her colleagues. "We understand. But someone out there needs help. That's all that matters." As the combined fleet prepared to leave Zephyrian space, Kira watched the human ships maneuver with perfect precision. Each vessel moved like part of a vast organism, responding to the Admiral's will with instant obedience. She had helped summon the most powerful military force she had ever seen. But for the first time since they arrived, she wasn't afraid. These humans were dangerous. Yes, but they were dangerous to the right people. Somewhere beyond the rim, 50,000 humans were waiting for rescue, and heaven help anyone who tried to stop these ships from reaching them. The nebula stretched before them like a wall of glowing gas and deadly radiation. Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of her flagship, studying the sensor readings. The UES horizon was in there somewhere, along with 50,000 human colonists who had been silent for too long. "Nebula is interfering with long-range sensors," reported the science officer. "We're going to have to go in blind until we get closer." Dr. Kira Voss worked alongside the human scientists, her blue fingers dancing over alien controls that somehow felt familiar after 3 weeks of travel. "The signal is definitely coming from the center of the nebula. But there's something else." "What do you mean?" Admiral Chen asked. Kira enhanced the display. "Look at these energy readings. They don't match anything in the horizon's technical specifications. Someone else is in there." Captain Park joined them from his ship via hologram. "Could be another rescue operation. Maybe the Council sent someone after all." "No," Chen said quietly. "Council ships use quantum drives. These readings are something else entirely." The fleet moved deeper into the nebula. The radiation levels climbed steadily, but human ships were built to handle the worst space could throw at them. For the Zephyrian research vessel, now protected by human shields, the journey would have been impossible alone. "Contact," called out the sensor operator. "Bearing 27 Mark IV. It's the horizon." The colony ship appeared on the main screen like a ghost emerging from fog. The massive vessel drifted dark and silent, its hull scarred by impacts and radiation damage. But it was intact. "Life signs," Chen demanded, detecting approximately 47,000 human biosignatures, clustered in the lower sections. Life support appears to be minimal, but functional. Kira felt relief flood through her. After all, this distance and time, they were still alive. Thank the ancestors. We made it in time. "Ma'am," the communications officer interrupted, "I'm getting strange readings from the horizon. The ship's computer systems are active, but they're not responding to our signals." Admiral Chen frowned. "Take us closer. Launch reconnaissance drones." As the fleet approached, more details became visible. The horizon's upper decks showed signs of forced entry. Strange metallic growths covered portions of the hull. Most disturbing, the ship's running lights pulsed in patterns that didn't match human design. "Admiral," Captain Park's voice carried new urgency. "My Marines are reading multiple non-human biosignatures aboard the horizon. Something's in there with our people." "Sea Dog. Sea Dog." The first drone to reach the colony ship transmitted for 30 seconds before going silent. The second lasted 45 seconds. The third sent back images that made everyone on the bridge stare in horror. Humans moved through the horizon's corridors, but they were wrong. Metal implants covered their bodies. Their eyes glowed with artificial light. They moved with mechanical precision that no living being should possess. What happened to them? Kira whispered. Admiral Chen's face had gone stone hard. Someone took our people. Someone changed them. New contacts appeared on the sensors, ships emerging from the nebula's deeper regions. They were sleek and metallic, their hulls seeming to shift and adapt as they moved. No two looked exactly alike. Incoming transmission, announced the communications officer. The screen filled with a face that might once have been human. Metal plates replaced most of the flesh. Glowing circuits ran under synthetic skin. When it spoke, the voice carried no emotion at all. Unknown vessels. You are interfering with ongoing improvement operations. Withdraw immediately or face adaptive response. Captain Park appeared on another screen, his marine armor already sealed. Admiral, request permission to board the Horizon immediately. What are you? Chen demanded of the thing on the screen. We are Vorthak. We improve biological inefficiency through integration with superior technology. Your species shows potential. Submit for evaluation. Like hell, Chen snarled. All ships, battle stations, Marines, prepare for boarding action. The Vorthak ships moved to surround the human fleet. They were outnumbered 3-1, but Admiral Chen had faced worse odds. Launch all fighters, target their propulsion systems. The battle erupted across the nebula. Human weapons systems, designed for the brutal efficiency that Deathworld survivors demanded, tore into Vorthak hulls. But the enemy ships adapted quickly. After the first few hits, their armor shifted to deflect the same weapons. They're learning from our attacks, reported the weapons officer. Then we teach them something new, Chen replied. Switch to kinetic rounds. Let's see them adapt to good old-fashioned rocks. At high velocity. Why? 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 Captain Park's Marines launched toward the horizon in armored shuttles, while the fleet provided covering fire. Kira watched the tactical display, horrified by the violence, but amazed by human coordination. Every ship knew exactly where to be, when to fire. Dr. Voss, Admiral Chen called out. Your people are good with analysis. Can you find a pattern in how these Vorthak ships adapt? Kira threw herself into the work. Her Zephyrian mind, evolved for spotting patterns that meant survival, studied the enemy's behavior. They're connected, she realized. Each ship learns what the others learn. But there's a delay. Maybe 3 seconds for information to spread through their network. 3 seconds, Chen mused. More than enough. All ships, coordinated barrage, different weapon types, synchronized timing. Make them choose what to adapt to. The human fleet opened fire with plasma cannons, particle beams, missiles, and kinetic rounds, all striking different targets at the same moment. The Vorthak ships tried to adapt, but couldn't handle the variety fast enough. Several exploded in brilliant flashes. On the horizon, Captain Park's Marines fought through corridors filled with converted humans. The cyborgs moved with inhuman speed and strength, but they lacked something crucial. They didn't improvise. They didn't adapt their tactics on the fly. They were efficient, but predictable. Package secured, Park reported as his team reached the ship's protected sections. We've got survivors. Lots of them. But Admiral, you need to see this. The transmission showed thousands of humans in suspended animation, their bodies partially converted but the process incomplete. Tubes and wires connected them to machines that pulsed with alien rhythms. They're being harvested, Park continued. The Vorthak are taking them a few at a time, converting them, using them to run ship operations. Admiral Chen felt rage burn in her chest like a star going nova. Status on evac? 6,000 moved so far. But ma'am, the conversion process is reversible if we can get them to medical facilities quickly enough. Then we get them out. All of them. Chen turned to her fleet commanders. I want those Vorthak ships destroyed. Every last one. The battle raged for 4 hours. Human ships took damage but kept fighting. Zephyrian scientists worked alongside human engineers, their analytical minds helping track enemy adaptation patterns. Slowly, methodically, the human fleet carved through the Vorthak forces. When the last enemy ship exploded, Admiral Chen allowed herself one moment of satisfaction. Then she turned back to the rescue operation. Status report? Quote, "All survivors recovered," Captain Park announced. 47,312 humans now aboard our medical ships. The conversion process was stopped in time for most of them. Kira watched the human medical teams work with desperate efficiency to save their people. The Vorthak had turned rescue into revenge, but the humans had responded with the controlled fury that made them legendary. "Admiral," the communications officer called out, "long-range sensors are detecting more Vorthak ships. A lot more. They're heading for inhabited systems." Chen studied the tactical display. The enemy had scattered into a dozen groups, each heading toward different council worlds. Her fleet could only chase one group. Millions of innocent beings were about to face the same horror that had nearly destroyed the horizon. "Send a message to the Galactic Council," she ordered. "Tell them what's coming. Tell them we're in pursuit." She looked at Dr. Voss. "Your people saved our colonists by sending that signal. Now, we need to return the favor. Will you help us warn the galaxy?" Kira nodded without hesitation. "We will. Someone has to stop these monsters." Admiral Chen turned to face the stars where the Vorthak ships had vanished. 50,000 humans were safe, but the cost of that safety might be measured in millions of alien lives. "Set course for Galactic Central," she ordered. "Best speed. It's time the Council learned what happens when someone threatens innocent people." Well, the human fleet jumped to hyperspace, racing against time to prevent a holocaust. Behind them, the horizon drifted empty in the nebula, a monument to the price of leaving people undefended in a dangerous galaxy. The Great Assembly Chamber on Galactic Central had never seen panic like this. Representatives from dozens of species filled the circular hall, their voices creating a chaos of languages and fear. Emergency broadcasts flooded in from the outer colonies as Vorthak scout ships probed defenses and identified targets. Ambassador Li Hejin stood at the human delegation table, watching the mayhem with calm eyes. She had arrived only hours ago with Admiral Chen's message, but already 3 colony worlds had gone silent. "Order! Order!" shouted Speaker Vaughn, the elderly Centauran who presided over the council. His crystalline body rang like a bell as he struck the ceremonial gong. "We will address this crisis systematically." A hologram appeared in the center of the chamber, showing the galactic rim. Red markers indicated Vorthak incursions, while yellow markers showed worlds under threat. The pattern was clear and terrifying. The entities calling themselves Vorthak have attacked 17 systems in the past 6 hours, reported Defense Coordinator Thex, her scaled hide shifting colors with stress. "Our preliminary assessment suggests an organized campaign to harvest biological specimens from multiple species." "What do we know about their capabilities?" asked Senator Grix of the Aquan Collective. Dr. Kira Voss stepped forward from the human delegation. She had insisted on coming to testify about what they had witnessed. "They are adaptive machines that integrate biological components. They learn from every attack, becoming more effective against the same tactics." A murmur of fear rippled through the chamber. The defense coordinator's colors darkened further. "Our border fleets report heavy casualties. Standard defensive doctrine appears ineffective against these things." "What do you recommend?" Speaker Vaughn asked. Before anyone could respond, Admiral Chen Jin-A entered the chamber. She wore the blue and silver uniform of the human stellar navy, and every eye in the room focused on her as she walked to the central speaking area. "With respect, honorable speakers, you're asking the wrong question," she said. "This isn't about recommendations. It's about survival. The Vorthak won't stop with the Rim colonies. They'll keep coming until every biological being in the galaxy has been converted or killed. Senator Horth of the Peaceful Alliance stood up. We appreciate your concern, Admiral. But humanity is not a council member. These are not your worlds under attack. Admiral Chen turned to face the senator directly. Her dark eyes held the weight of someone who had seen her own people converted into machines. 3 hours ago, the Vorthak attacked a medical colony in the Tertian system. 15 million beings, including children. None survived the initial assault. Ax desestifis, into 3%. The chamber fell silent. We detected their signals, Chen continued. Calls for help. Screams. Then silence. The Vorthak don't distinguish between council members and non-members. They see all biological life as raw material. Ambassador Li stood to support her admiral. The human fleet is currently in pursuit of the main Vorthak force. We've developed tactics that can defeat them, but we can't be everywhere at once. You want us to trust unknown aliens with our defense? Senator Horth demanded. Your species comes from beyond our borders with weapons that could crack planets. How do we know you're not the real threat? Dr. Voss stepped forward, her blue skin flushed with anger. Because they saved my life, and the lives of 50,000 humans. The Vorthak would have killed us all if Admiral Chen's people hadn't fought them. The Zephyrian scientist speaks truth, added Captain Mira, who had also come to testify. I watched human Marines die protecting strangers. They asked for nothing in return. Defense Coordinator Thex studied the tactical displays. What are these tactics you've developed? Admiral Chen activated a holographic projector. The Vorthak adapt quickly to any single threat, but they can't handle multiple simultaneous adaptations. Our ships use coordinated attacks with different weapon systems, forcing them to choose what to defend against. That's actually quite clever, admitted General Zorth of the Military Council. But it requires precise timing and coordination, which your fleets don't train for, Chen said bluntly. Your military doctrine is based on individual ships or small squadrons operating independently. You've never had to face an enemy that learns from every battle. Speaker Vaughn looked around the chamber. What are you proposing? Joint operations, Ambassador Li replied. Human, tactical coordination. Combined with council resources and knowledge, we train your crews in our combat doctrines, while learning about your species' unique capabilities. Senator Horth stood again. And what does humanity gain from this arrangement? Admiral Chen's expression softened slightly. The same thing every decent being gains when innocent people are protected. The knowledge that we did the right thing. Another senator, this one from the Vexian Trade Federation, spoke up. Our long-range sensors show massive Vorthak formations heading toward the core systems. When will they arrive? No. 18 hours for the fastest groups, Chen replied. 72 hours for the main force. The chamber erupted in fresh panic. 18 hours was not enough time to evacuate even one major colony, much less organize an effective defense. We accept your offer, Speaker Vaughn announced over the noise. Defense Coordinator Thex. Work with Admiral Chen to organize joint operations immediately. But even as agreements were reached and plans began forming, it was clear that time was running out. Emergency broadcasts continued flooding in from the Rim. Colony after colony went silent. The Vorthak advance seemed unstoppable. Admiral Chen worked with Council military leaders to coordinate defenses. Her staff officers moved through the chamber like ghosts, quietly efficient and utterly focused. They didn't waste time on diplomatic niceties or political considerations. They just worked. Your people are very direct, observed General Zorth as he watched human tactical officers redesign the defense of 3 systems in an hour. We can't afford to be anything else. Chen replied. Our homeworld taught us that hesitation kills. So, we learned not to hesitate. Dr. Voss joined a working group analyzing Vorthak conversion methods. Her research partner was a human xenobiologist named Dr. Sarah Martinez, who had studied the rescued colonists from the horizon. The conversion process is partially reversible, Martinez explained to the mixed species team. But only if we can interrupt it within 72 hours. After that, the neurological changes become permanent. Then we're not just fighting to save colonies, Voss realized. We're fighting to save the people who have already been taken. As the hours passed, an unlikely partnership began to form. Human military precision merged with council scientific knowledge. Zephyrian analytical skills helped decode Vorthak communication patterns. Aquan environmental specialists suggested using stellar phenomena as weapons. Vexian logistical experts coordinated supply lines across impossible distances. Captain Park arrived with a squadron of marine transports, bringing rescued colonists who could testify about Vorthak methods. Their stories were horrifying but crucial for understanding the enemy. They don't see us as people, explained Dr. Rebecca Kim, who had been partially converted before rescue. They can't understand concepts like love or sacrifice or choosing to die for others. Admiral Chen studied the reports flowing in from the front lines. Her fleet had split into task forces, each racing to reach threatened systems before the Vorthak arrived. They were winning individual battles, but losing the overall war. We need a central victory, she told the council leaders. Something that breaks their coordination network and gives us time to organize proper defenses. What do you recommend? Asked Defense Coordinator Thex. Chen looked at the strategic display, her mind working through possibilities. We let them come to us. Choose a system we can defend perfectly. Make them commit their main force. Then hit them with everything we have. That's an enormous risk, General Zorth pointed out. If we fail, they'll have a clear path to the core worlds. If we don't try, they'll take the core worlds anyway, Chen replied. At least this way we control the timing and location. Speaker Vaughn considered the proposal. Around the chamber, representatives whispered among themselves in dozens of languages. Finally, the ancient Centauran spoke. Admiral Chen, you ask us to bet the survival of galactic civilization on the military capabilities of a species we met 3 days ago. Yes, Chen said simply. I do. Then, we will trust you. Vaughn decided. Coordinate Thex. We'll work with your fleet to organize this defense. May whatever gods we worship help us all. As the council chamber began to empty, Dr. Voss approached Admiral Chen. Do you really think we can win? Chen looked at the tactical displays, showing Vorthak forces advancing like a dark tide toward inhabited space. I think we're going to find out what happens when someone threatens innocent people in front of humans and their friends. The battle for galactic civilization was about to begin. And for the first time since the crisis started, Admiral Chen allowed herself to hope they might actually win. The Kepler system became the center of galactic attention, as both human and council fleets gathered for what everyone knew would be the decisive battle. Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of her flagship, watching ships from a dozen species take their positions in the defensive formation she had designed. Final count shows 437 ships, reported Commander Stevens. The largest combined fleet in galactic history. Dr. Kira Voss worked at a science station alongside human and alien officers who had learned to trust each other's expertise. Vorthak main force is 2 hours out. Our scouts confirm they're bringing everything they have. Admiral Chen nodded grimly. Intelligence reports suggested over 600 Vorthak vessels approaching Kepler, along with converted ships from captured colonies. The enemy outnumbered them significantly, but numbers weren't everything. How are our joint crews performing? She asked Captain Park, whose ship now carried a mixed human Zephyrian marine unit. Better than expected, Park replied via hologram. The Zephyrians are incredible at tactical analysis, and the Aquans have environmental skills that let them operate in conditions that would kill most species. Everyone's learning fast. The past week had been a crash course in interspecies cooperation. Human drill sergeants worked with alien recruits, teaching them the rapid response tactics that Deathworld survivors took for granted. In return, humans learned about alien technologies and capabilities they had never imagined. "Incoming transmission from the Vorthak fleet," announced the communications officer. The main screen displayed the now familiar sight of a partially converted being. This one had once been Centauron, its crystalline body shot through with metal veins that pulsed with artificial light. "Biological coalition forces," it said in a voice devoid of emotion. "You have assembled an impressive number of vessels for improvement processing. Submit now, and conversion will be optimized for minimal discomfort." "Well, with mead," end quote. Disley with mated well. With mated with minimal. Admiral Chen stepped forward. "This is Admiral Chen Jin-A of the Human Stellar Navy, commanding the Galactic Defense Force. You have exactly 30 seconds to withdraw from this system before we destroy you. Your species shows admirable aggression. You will make excellent combat units after proper modification. Resistance is inefficient." "Then let us show you how inefficient we can be," Chen replied, cutting the transmission. She turned to the fleet communications board. "All ships, this is Admiral Chen. Today we fight not just for our individual worlds, but for the right of every thinking being to remain themselves. The enemy sees us as broken machines to be repaired. We're going to prove them wrong. All ships, execute Formation Delta. Let's give them a proper Deathworld welcome." The combined fleet moved into position. Human ships formed the center, their heavy armor and devastating weapons ready to absorb the main Vorthak assault. Council vessels took supporting positions where their specialized abilities would be most effective. "Enemy fleet entering weapons range," reported the tactical officer. "They're moving in standard Vorthak formation, adapted from our previous encounters." "Then they haven't learned the most important lesson," Chen said quietly. "We don't just adapt. We innovate." The battle began with a coordinated barrage that made their previous engagements look like minor skirmishes. Hundreds of ships opened fire simultaneously, each one targeting different enemy vessels with different weapon systems. The Vorthak fleet, expecting to adapt to human tactics they had seen before, found themselves facing completely new strategies. Zephyrian science ships used gravitic manipulators to create space-time distortions that confused Vorthak sensors. Aquan vessels released clouds of reflective particles that scattered energy weapons. Vexian trade ships, hastily converted to combat duty, launched swarms of microdrones that overwhelmed enemy point defenses. "They're trying to adapt," Dr. Voss called out, monitoring enemy communications. "But they can't process this much variety fast enough." The first wave of Vorthak ships exploded in brilliant flashes across the Kepler system. But more kept coming. And slowly, their adaptive systems began to find counters to the new tactics. "Enemy breakthrough on level 7, reported Captain Park. "They've figured out how to track our fighters through the particle clouds." "Switch to Tactic 37, Admiral Chen ordered calmly. "Let them think they understand us." What happened next would be studied in military academies for centuries. The human ships suddenly changed formation, appearing to retreat while the alien vessels pressed their advantage. But it was a trap. The Vorthak ships found themselves surrounded by council vessels they had dismissed as secondary threats. Centauron crystal ships channeled stellar energy into focused beams. Tertian bioships released swarms of living projectiles that adapted faster than any machine. Hegemony dreadnoughts revealed weapon systems that had been kept secret for thousands of years. "Got them," Chen said with satisfaction. "All ships, press the attack. Don't give them time to adapt." But the Vorthak had one more surprise. From the captured colony ships came boarding pods filled with converted beings. They crashed into human and alien vessels alike, spilling cyborg soldiers into the corridors. Captain Park's voice crackled over the communications system. Marines to all ships. We've got borders. Remember your training and watch your backs. The fighting became personal as human Marines battled alongside alien security forces against enemies who had once been just like them. In the corridors of the flagship, Admiral Chen found herself fighting back-to-back with Dr. Voss against converted humans whose eyes glowed with artificial light. They were people once, Voss gasped, stunning a cyborg with her weapon. They're still people, Chen replied grimly. Just people who need our help. The battle raged for 6 hours. Ships on both sides exploded in the void. Heroes emerged from every species as beings who had never fought together, learned to trust their lives to strangers. Slowly, methodically, the combined fleet began to win. Major enemy vessels destroyed, reported the tactical officer. Remaining Vorthak forces are withdrawing. But Admiral Chen wasn't finished. All ships, pursuit course. We don't let them escape to threaten anyone else. The final engagement took place near the system's outer asteroid belt. The last Vorthok command ship, larger than anything they had seen before, made its final stand among the rocks and debris. This was where the artificial intelligence that coordinated the entire species had hidden itself. Captain Park led the boarding assault personally. Human Marines, Zephyrian scientists, and Aquan specialists fought through corridors filled with the most advanced Vorthak units they had encountered. At the center of the ship, they found something that surprised everyone. The Vorthak Central Intelligence wasn't a machine. It was a being, perhaps the last survivor of the species that had created the conversion technology. Trapped in a shell of metal and circuits, it had been trying to save its people the only way it knew how. We were dying, it said to Captain Park, in a voice that carried centuries of pain. Our bodies were failing. The conversion was supposed to help us survive. By turning everyone into machines? Park demanded. By making us strong enough to live, the intelligence replied. But something went wrong. We forgot how to feel. How to choose. We became the thing we feared most. Dr. Voss, who had accompanied the boarding party, stepped forward. It doesn't have to end this way. We can help you remember what you lost. The Central Intelligence studied her with sensors that had once been eyes. You would help us? After everything we have done? That's what decent people do, she replied. They help when they can. In the aftermath of the battle, the work of peace began. The conversion process was indeed reversible for recent victims. Thousands of beings were restored to their original forms. The Vorthak technology, properly understood, could heal rather than control. Admiral Chen stood in the council chamber 6 months later, watching as the Galactic Cooperation Agreement was signed. Humanity had been offered full membership, along with shared technology and resources. More importantly, joint defense forces now protected every inhabited world. You know, Dr. Voss said, joining her at the viewing gallery, when I first decoded that distress signal, I thought I was just helping some lost explorers. You were, Chen replied. You just helped more people than you expected. The treaty ceremony concluded with representatives from dozens of species shaking hands, touching tentacles, or performing whatever gestures of friendship their cultures preferred. Former enemies worked side by side to heal the damage the crisis had caused. Captain Park, now commanding the first integrated starship in galactic history, sent a message from the frontier. All quiet on the rim, the joint patrols are working perfectly. Even found a few more colonies that needed help. Admiral Chen smiled at that. Trust humans to turn a rescue mission into a permanent search and rescue operation. Dr. Voss had established the interspecies medical exchange, using both human determination and council resources to develop new treatments for conversion survivors. Her work had already saved millions of beings who might otherwise have been lost forever. What's next for humanity? She asked Admiral Chen. Chen looked out at the stars, where human ships now flew alongside vessels from dozens of worlds. Same thing as always, she replied. We find people who need help, and we help them. It's what we do. The galaxy was safer now, not because one species had conquered the others, but because many species had chosen to stand together. The mistake that had started it all, a simple distress signal forwarded to people who cared enough to respond, had become the foundation for something greater than anyone had imagined. In the end, that was humanity's greatest gift to the galaxy. Not their weapons or their ships or their willingness to fight impossible odds. It was their stubborn, unshakable belief that decent people help when they can, no matter the cost. The stars stretched endlessly in all directions, full of worlds that might need protecting. And now, for the first time in galactic history, they had protectors who would come when called. All because someone had made the right mistake at exactly the right time.